Welcome to Painting Your Way. And this is a really fun class that we love to teach because it gives you the chance to see two different artists approaching the same subject matter. So a lot of times you take an art class and you kind of come away from it feeling like you're supposed to paint like the teacher. So the whole idea of this class is to see that there's a lot of different ways you can do this. And being an artist is really about finding your own way, your own style. So I'm Paul. I always make Melissa go first. You introduce yourself first. What am I doing? Go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. Hi Jackie. Hi everyone watching through video. My name is Melissa Foreman. I am an artist and art director, a painter, lover of all things creative, and super happy to be here with everybody today. We are going to paint a beautiful flamingo. I'm going to paint it my way. Paul is going to paint it his way, and you are welcome to pick up tips from either of us. Paint your own way. Do it our way. Do it your own way. Do whatever you want.
You don't even have to paint a flammingo if you don't want to.
You
You can
don't.
paint
You can
anything.
paint whatever you
This
want.
is that's how laid back we are here.
Yes. This is just a chance for us to sit down, do something fun, do something creative, and spend some time practicing our painting techniques.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'm Paul. I am in Monterey, California. I do a lot of painting, usually oil painting myself, but today I'm going to mix it up and do watercolor because we have a lot of people who are interested in that. So, show you some how I do watercolor technique, which is totally different than oil. So, it'll be a good learning experience for me too, because I haven't done a watercolor in a while. All right, are you ready to get started, Melissa?
Yeah, let's go.
And Jackie, it's really good to see
you ready?
you either way.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are you?
You know what I'm going to do? I was prepared to do acrylic because I do it all the time, and I'm still I'm intimidated by oil. I'll use that word because I haven't used it for 60 years. I will.
Oh,
But
yes.
you know what? I want to do a little watercolor, so I'm going to just grab a couple of things right here. I didn't have right handy, but I've got them.
Okay.
I'm
Go
going
right ahead. I love your painting that's on your easel. That's really beautiful.
So you know what I was doing? I was trying. Thank you. I was trying palette knife painting.
Oh,
And
yay!
what happened was I was, you know what, the up top and the mountains, and then I had all this paint. I had put way too much paint on there, and so I just scraped it off, and then I let it dry, and then I'll come back. And I came back, and I thought, you know what? I'm leaving it.
Good for you.
Saying, oh, you're doing destruction. Well, kind of.
I love that. You can never have too much paint with the palette knife.
Right. Okay, I'm getting me a couple of little supplies here.
Okay, you go for it.
Yeah. Let me switch the view here. So I am working in acrylic today. Paul's going to be doing watercolor. So you'll get to see a little bit of both.
Great.
And
great. Okay.
how we approach each one differently, which I think the two are very different in how you would go about them.
Right.
Yeah.
You could do something similar. I mean, honestly, acrylic can be watered down to the point where it's very similar to watercolor. But what I'm doing to start is just mixing up some colors I know I'm going to need down the line.
Okay. Okay, now let's see. Where's my little deal? Here it is.
Melissa, do you see the palette on the left side or the right side of my screen?
I see your empty plastic palette on the right side.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
good. Oh, good. Okay. Just making sure.
You know, Paul, I actually have a related but not related to the class question.
Go for it. Anything goes.
Yes, you were painting with watercolor pens. So
yes.
You see what I'm showing you?
Yes, I have one of those right over here.
All right, Paul, I pull the end like that, and there's the brush, right?
Yep.
How do I get to the part with the water? It won't unscrew.
Oh, let me show you. I have one right here. Let me switch my camera back. Okay, so here's mine.
Yeah.
So you take that part off.
Right.
Here's the brush.
Right.
And then you just twist it, but you twist it to the right. It's the opposite of how you would expect to twist.
And where am I twisting? Show me where you're twisting.
So I've got the brush part right here, and it goes on like this.
These babies will not twist.
twist it the opposite direction that you would expect to have to twist it.
All right, to the right is a counterclockwise, which is how I would expect to. Okay, so you're telling
Okay.
me the other way. Oh,
Yep.
Magic.
And then you
Okay.
just hold it under the sink and load it up with some water. I
Right.
might go do that too, and then I can show you that as well. Let me go get a
Thank
little
you.
water in mine.
I had that out particularly to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here we
That'll
are.
be interesting to see. I've actually never used one of those, but I know a lot of people really like them.
Well, I've never
Yes,
either, so I was stimulated. Okay, now, so
So and then you fill it up, and then you just screw the thing back on. You're ready to go. All right. Before I start, I need to tape down my paper. Let me switch my camera back.
Let me see.
Oh, yes. I'm so used to you doing oil paint, Paul. I'm like, oh,
I
yes.
know this is going to be
Yes.
very different.
You have paper.
Uh-huh. Okay, there we go. All right. Whew, finally ready to start. So if you are doing watercolor,
Yeah.
Just trying to square this video up here. Get way too obsessed with that.
Yeah, it looks good, Paul.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. So if you're doing watercolor on paper and it's just a loose piece of paper, what I like to do is tape it down to a board, or you could tape it down to anything that's kind of heavy. So like a heavy mat board would work or something. But that way, when the paper gets covered with water, it won't get all warpy. And I like to try and do it by leaving an even amount of space in the border on all sides. So I kind of look just through the tape and you can see how much space is there, like maybe about a 1/4 inch on this one. So I'm going to do the same distance all the way around. And that way, when you take the tape off, you get a nice little clean white edge.
Okay.
You did that too, Melissa. Did you leave a little even border
did.
around it?
I did, yeah. So I made sure that my painting was in the center of my paper here. And what I have is a watercolor block. So you don't have to stretch this paper like what Paul's doing right now,
Yeah.
because it will stay solid for you and hopefully not wrinkle once you start painting on it.
Okay.
But watercolor paper can be used, I found, for a lot of different types of painting, not just watercolor. So I really like it for acrylic because the paint seems to be more opaque on the paper than it is on canvas.
Yeah. I even like watercolor paper for drawing sometimes. Just the texture is really nice.
Yeah, I've done oil paint on it too, and I actually really like it for that. But
yeah,
probably not
cool.
the most archival thing in the world, but it does go on really nicely.
Yeah. Huh. Do you gesso it when you oil, or do you just paint right on the
I
paper?
do not. No, I think you could
Interesting.
if you wanted to. If you wanted more texture, or,
Yeah.
wanted it to be a little bit more thick as far as the way you're applying the paint. But I do
Mhm.
not. I paint very
That's
thinly
cool.
with oil, so I think it works out nicely for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
That's cool. And as you can see, Melissa has gotten a head start here. She's already sketched out her flamingo.
Yes.
She likes to be ahead of the game.
I do. I like to come prepared.
I like to just jump in and hope for the best myself.
I am not the quickest painter, so I need all the help I can get
Oh, please.
to try to get through this.
All right. Normally, when I'm oil painting, I don't bother doing a sketch because I just like to figure it out with paint, but I am going to sketch this one since it's watercolor.
Okay.
So one thing that's kind of important, one tip I'll say right off the bat if you're doing watercolor too, is that you want to make your sketch really light. You don't want to press hard with the pencil or it'll make grooves in the paper and then the paint will get down into that.
What are you using?
I'm using an HB, but
Okay.
anything on the harder side, so even like a 2H or 4H would be good. Just anything if it's too soft, it's going to leave a lot of dark, graphite on the paper, and then that'll smear with the paint and be kind of annoying. So I like the HB and just press very lightly with it. Now you can't really see. I'm pressing so light you can't even probably see my drawing, but you'll see it soon.
Yep. So I'm just working on mixing up a range of colors that I know I'm going to need. So just a range of pinks. There's a lot of different values in this photographic reference because there is really intense lighting. So I'm just mixing up some different values. So light pink, medium pink, shadow pink, and then some colors for the background. I know I'm going to need black, obviously, but there's some variation back there. And I do think that black can be a little bit more interesting if you mix in some other colors. So I'm going to make sure I have what I need on my palette here before I start.
Melissa likes to be prepared.
I very much do. And I do think it makes it easier with acrylic if you have some colors already mixed. And I do like these little palettes because your paint that you mix will stay wet for a while longer than it would if it was more spread out on a rectangular or a larger palette. So I do like having some colors that I can choose from in the beginning, and then I can always mix them or add other colors in the center here or on another palette if I need something other than what I already have.
That's one nice thing about watercolor too, which similar in a way to oil, is that the paint, it never really dries like to the point of where you can't use it. It will dry, but then all you have to do is just add a little water to it, and then you can go, it activates again. So watercolors, if you mix some colors on your tray that you like, don't clean it off at the end if you aren't finished with your piece, because even a week or two from now you could just wet it and reuse it.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about watercolor. You can always go back to it.
Yeah.
You can always wake it up again.
Okay, I'm just getting the main shapes of this guy on here.
It looks like you're doing quite a bit of detail, like even the feathers. Are you?
I did not. Melissa, you probably.
Mine is more, so I like to make a silhouette, so define the overall shape of the bird or whatever you're painting. And then I make some indications where the light is, just so I know that I'm going to have some darks versus lights. So I kind of make a map for myself that way.
Okay.
Paul, are you doing something similar?
I'm not doing quite as much. I just drew like where the main wing is, but that's it in there. Gotcha. The rest I will figure out as I go. All right, so I think that's enough detail for my drawing. A little one more thing on the beak. This is a good one when you are drawing it. Think about look at the shapes of the negative spaces. Like the negative space is the black, the positive space is the flamingo. So if you kind of like draw the shape of the negative space, then you end up drawing the positive space too. And it really does make a difference. All right. Now, because I am doing watercolor and watercolor is very transparent, I'm just going to take my kneaded eraser and kind of soften my lines a bit and also get rid of any lines that I do not want, the sketchy lines that are not really on the right spot.
I'm just starting to lay some color in here. So I'm starting with my darkest darks and thinking about value and putting that in first really helps me establish a more successful painting.
Yes.
So I think it's really helpful for me to start with laying in some of those shadows and then going from there.
Shockingly, I am going to do the same thing as Melissa.
Look at that.
Who am I?
You're putting the darks first. Is that so? You're doing the background first?
Yes. We both kind of like to do that because then that gets it out of the way, but also then you can factor in what that value is when you're painting the real thing.
Yeah. It really helps establish just a range of values, because sometimes it's hard working with white to know if you have something dark enough in the shadows, or it just broadens your range of values to know what's the darkest dark and what's the lightest light.
Yeah. And I think Melissa said this already, but I'm just reiterate it because I'm doing it as well. I put in some black from the tube, but I also added some I used what did I use? Prussian blue, just to make it a little bit not just like the straight black out of the tube.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes that can add some depth to your paintings.
Yes. You can really mix any dark color with black, whatever, tint you want to give it. But I thought going with blue would be nice since the flamingo is so warm. The cool tone of the black would be nice, I thought. All right, so now I'm just kind of wetting my paint. You can see. And I usually start right along the edges.
You still doing dark? Yeah.
Yes. Use lots of water will make it glide on better. And water is also adding water to watercolor is how you lighten the color too. So I don't necessarily want it light right now, but when I get into the flamingo, I will.
Oops. I painted.
Uh-oh. What was that?
You okay over there, Jackie?
So when you paint it to his neck, then can you get it out? Do you put
so
paper towel?
What I would do is if you put some paint where you don't want it, just take a clean brush, dip it in your water, and then kind of scrub it over that area and then pat it with the paper towel.
Got it. Shoot. Darn it.
Not coming up?
I don't know. I'm just doing it. Oh, but not very well because it was the black and blue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I
colors.
I'm getting my stuff together. Well, we'll just be fine.
Maybe that just becomes a new shadow there, Jackie.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's in a place of a shadow.
Now you can use the white with watercolor. It's usually not the best, but it could like to touch up a spot like that. It might not be a bad idea if your watercolor set has a white with it.
So I'm using this. Yeah, it does. I've got this little tiny Winston watercolor set that I've had for a very long time, but they last forever.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
I still have mine from college somewhere in the closet.
Yep. As long as you can get the cap off, it could still work.
Right.
And I mix and match things. Like I have this set that's in the tube, but then I also have these that are in the little tray. You can use all of it together. It doesn't matter. I haven't done a watercolor in a while. It's kind of fun. It's so different than what I normally do. Because with watercolor, you have to kind of plan ahead. You're basically using the white of the paper for the lights. So any place that you want to preserve as a highlight, you kind of want to avoid that while you're painting and just slowly build up to it.
Yeah. Nice thing about acrylic is you can go back in and paint on top. Makes it a little bit easier.
Yes.
Watercolor's a little less forgiving, but it does flow really nicely. I think you can get some really nice effects with watercolor that you couldn't necessarily get with acrylics.
Yeah. Some of it is just like the natural kind of like organic thing that the paint does that you're not even really controlling. It's just from letting one color bleed into another, or I'm good at giving up control, so
right. I am not.
You said it, not me. But I agree.
You're looking for an argument. Got to pick a different subject.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's okay. I accept my own way of being.
Good.
That is good. We
Yeah.
accept it too. We
Yes.
love it.
Just got to work with
Someone's got to
who
be
you
in
are.
charge of things around here.
Right.
So I'm kind of really taking my time because I want to get a nice clean edge that really matches the shape of the flamingo. So this is kind of like a good chance to think about the edge if you're approaching it the same way that we are.
Yep. Yep.
You don't
Defining
have
that
to do
shape.
black in the background if you want to put a
True.
color or make a scene back there. You could even look up other, images if you want to create an environment.
Yeah. No matter what type of paint you're using, you could mix it up, do something different.
Yes.
Of course, I'm doing the black. That's my favorite.
Yes. I'm doing it too though, because I do kind of like the drama of the bright colors of the flamingo against it.
It really does make the colors of the flamingo pop, and I think it really does add to the lighting.
Yeah. That was one of the reasons we picked this photo is because it has such good lighting.
And I think that is something to look for in a photo when you're deciding if you want to paint from a certain reference or if you take a photo yourself and you want to paint from it. I think good lighting is always going to make a photo or a painting stand out. I think it's
Definitely
going to add more interest. It's going to be just more intriguing overall to look at. I think if the lighting is interesting or has a focus at least.
I think that's something that's an especially good tip for painters because you can have a great photo that has frontal lighting, a lot of like photos that are used for advertising, pictures of models and stuff. The lighting is more from the front because that tends to be more flattering, or it looks, the person is, you don't see all the
more even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But when you're trying to translate it to a painting, if there's not any like strong sense of light source, it can very easily look very flat. So it is something that I look for also in photo references is good lighting that's directional from one side.
Yeah. It can really add to the overall feeling of a painting too. Like this one, it definitely has more mood to it because of the lighting. And I think that makes it more interesting to look at.
Our moody little flamingo.
Yes. I love me a good moody painting.
He's listening to some Cure, the Cure, or
yes,
one of those 80s like progressive groups.
Definitely.
One thing with watercolor too is that, which is challenging for me, you want to try to have kind of a light touch. You don't want to just like put a whole bunch of brush strokes in one area. You kind of want to put it on there and then leave it alone, because if you scrub the paper too much, it's going to really quickly disturb the paper. You can do a lot of layers on a watercolor painting if you just put it on, leave it, let it dry, and then go back and do another layer on top. But if you try to work with it too much while it's wet, you'll get the paper to a point where it just won't accept any more paint. So I would say, yeah, like even like as I'm doing this background, I keep wanting to go back and kind of even it out, but I'm going to wait for that. I'm going to just get it all covered and then go back and maybe do another layer if I need to.
Yeah, actually, watercolor is something it can take a lot of restraint to just let things dry, let things do what they're going to do.
Restraint is not my specialty.
And that's why I'm like, I don't know, Paul.
Yeah. That's why I like oil, because it's so forgiving. You can just throw one thing on top of another and keep going.
Yeah.
But it's good to go out of your comfort zone, which is what I am doing for you all today. Typically with a watercolor, you want to start with the light tones and build your way up to dark. I'm kind of breaking that rule right off the bat by doing this black, but I know
Of
that I
course
want
you
that
are.
part to. I know that that's going to be black, so it's okay. I'm not worried about preserving anything. But the reason why you typically like you kind of build up from light to dark, which is what I'll do in the flamingo, is so you don't get too dark too quick. You can always add more dark, but you can't make it light again. So that's the reason to just kind of slowly build up.
Mhm. I would say watercolor is one too if you're going to go for something like the background that is going to take a lot of paint to cover. You want to go with a bigger brush if you can, because you're going to
Yeah.
get a smoother application of the paint. It's going to flow a little bit better. You're not going to get a lot of the brush strokes that you would if you use a smaller brush.
Yeah.
And you want to kind of work wet into wet to get a smoother finish. So you're applying wet paint next to wet paint, and you're going to get a nice bleed
I love
and a
that.
more solid finish.
Yeah, as long as one color is wet, when you put another color next to it, you will get that nice watercolor blend. And so that's why I did the edge of the bird first, because I do not want the edge of the bird to bleed. I want it to be nice and crisp. So I want to allow plenty of time for that black to dry so that when I'm ready to go in and paint the flamingo, it won't bleed on me. You can also use a hair dryer to speed up the drying time too. If you're an impatient person like me, that might come in handy. Unfortunately, I don't have enough hair to require a hair dryer,
Well,
but I can steal my husband's if I get desperate. He still has great hair. Jackie has the best hair, though. Have you always
Jackie
had cool
does.
hair like that, Jackie?
You know what? I have, it's interesting you would ask me that. I have through my life had really wonderful thick hair. And
Uh-huh.
my hair, I've been losing hair very much in the last few
Oh,
years.
really?
I've got Graves' disease. So this
Okay.
hair,
Oh,
yeah, you know, this is a way to do it. I shave the sides I cut the sides short. And then let me just tell you about the top product and
Yeah.
lots of product and teasing.
Well, it works because I mean, that's one of like your trademarks when I see you, and I just think Jackie always has the coolest hair.
Thank
Yep.
you. Everybody recognizes me because of the hair. So believe me, I have to be on my good behavior all the time.
I love it. It's definitely the hairstyle of an artist. I love that.
Yeah, this is Jackie's signature.
You would fit in at the art school we went to. Everybody had wild hair. Did you ever dye your hair interesting colors, Melissa? I don't think you did you?
I had it was like a maroon color for a while. It was bright red for a little while.
When
That
was that?
It was very short. Like it actually had a similar haircut to Jackie's, where it was longer on top and it was shaved on the sides.
Was this in college?
No, it was actually after college.
How do I not remember that? That's crazy.
It was, let me see, it was probably a couple of years ago.
And you got to admit, Melissa, you had more fun, huh?
It was a lot of fun. Yes, I enjoyed it.
More fun.
Yep.
When I still had a little more hair, one day I randomly just dyed it hot pink while Dennis was at work, and then waited for him to come home to see how he would react.
For Dennis.
He was surprised.
And when you say hot pink, you mean hot pink. It was very pink.
Yeah, it kind of had like a Ronald McDonald look, which was not ideal, but
Probably not exactly what you're going for, but
I was going for glam rock, but I got Ronald McDonald.
it was still fun.
Yes.
Wasn't it blue for a bit too? I think you had a section of it blue, but
I did do
I don't think you
blue.
liked the blue as much.
It was just on the tip, and the rest of my hair was white, and I don't know why I felt like Donald Duck. My hair's so low maintenance now, though. I mean, it's crazy because I was always, even when I just had a little bit of hair, I used like 20 products on it.
You did.
And now it's like, what's the point? Just get up and go.
It is nice when it's easy, though.
Yeah. That's good enough for my background for now. You can, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but even with the tape, the paper's wanting to start to warp a little bit. So it's a good thing that it's taped down, or it would definitely be just all a big crumpled mess. So definitely recommend the taping.
Yes, mine's actually similar. There's a little bit of a sheen there, and that's mostly because the paper is warped a little bit, but usually the watercolor block does help a lot with the wrinkling. So I do recommend
those are
that.
cool. It holds the paper
sure.
in, and then you just cut it out when you're all done. Okay. So now, let's see. The background is mostly dry except for over here. So I'll start on this back part, and I'm going to mix up that kind of orangey pink color and do a very light wash. Oh, hold on a sec. My QuickTime recording just stopped. So let me see if I can get that restarted again before I do much else.
Check on it. So good. All right, and while Paul is going to start laying in some color on the flamingo, I am still working on, I'm doing the darks first, so laying in some shadows on the flamingo. It's got a long shadow across its back from its neck. So I'm going to put that in there, and then any other dark areas I see, I'm going to lay those in first. And then kind of work up to the highlights, which is the opposite of what Paul will do with the watercolor.
So, okay, let me see. Well, Paul's not doing it yet. So I'll tell you what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
A bit of an overachiever. I'm doing both. I'm doing a flamingo on a black canvas.
Oh, nice. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, with acrylic. And then I've got what I have, it's a postcard pad. So it's tiny.
Oh, that's fun.
My watercolor. So that's manageable size. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
So Jackie, you're doing both at the same time?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Well,
so she's being both of us today.
She is.
When you switch back and forth between the paintings, you have to switch your personalities too to match each of us.
Right.
Okay.
That's like a circus act or something there, Jackie.
Yeah.
It's probably a really interesting way to like really see the differences between the two mediums.
And feel it. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Well, it is different, I'll tell you that. Let's see.
One thing about acrylic, especially if you're working on watercolor paper like I am, adding a little bit of water to your brush before you start painting with the paint that you've mixed will make it flow a little bit better. If you add too much, it actually takes on more of a watercolor feel, but just a little bit makes it flow very nicely, and you don't get a lot of the extra texture if you're trying to avoid that.
I am getting a lot of texture. I am.
Yeah.
I'm sort of doing, I'll tell you what I have in my mind in a little bit when we do gestural drawing.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of that. I'm being free and easy with my acrylic.
Oh, that's good.
So, Paul?
Yes.
You're still waiting for it to kind of dry?
I was giving it a minute. I think it's just about ready, and I had to fix something with my computer.
I have my background and I think it's dry.
Okay, so I just put out some uh orangey red. The one I used is called Vermilion, and that kind of really, I think, matches the color pretty well of this flamingo, for a base anyhow. But I'm also going to put out some burnt umber for a kind of darker shadow. And what else? Maybe a little purple. And some crimson, which is a darker red. I like having lots of colors.
Mm-hmm. And there
Bird
is a lot
seeing.
of color in the shadow areas on this bird. So
Yeah, the more you look, I just like to, when I'm putting out colors, I just will have the reference right in front of me and I just let my eyes kind of scan all over it to see what all colors I can pick up on. Then that way, if they're out on my palette while I'm working, I'm much more likely to grab them than if I have to stop and go, mix something or go get a color.
mhm.
All right, that should be good. A little bit of everything on there. And so yeah, like Melissa said, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what she's doing. No shock there. I'm going to go very light. Actually, my water is so black. Before I do that, I'm going to go get some new water. So give me one
Oh
second.
yeah, that is something that's helpful. It doesn't really matter with acrylic, but with watercolor, it is helpful to
Right.
change your water. Anything on your brush is going to affect the way the paint comes down on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Back at it. So I'm going to use mostly water here because I want to start very light. And I'll just maybe take a little bit of that vermilion and scooch it over here into the middle of the tray. And then use mostly water with it.
So this will be a bigger challenge for me because I don't have colors to mix. I have look, you see my little guy? Look at my little guy.
Let's see.
Guy.
Oh, you can still mix.
Aw.
You just have to scoop up a little bit of the color with a wet brush, and then you
Right.
can put it up in that top part on the lid,
Right.
the tray up there.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I just don't have, I have no base. I have such basic colors to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to
Gotcha.
do a little more mixing.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna change my water. In fact, I need 2 water.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm just going in with mostly water to start with, and I'm creating some of these feather shapes.
Okay, I gotta get with you here.
And like I said, with watercolor, it's always good to go lighter than you need at first. You can always go darker later.
Right.
And kind of the opposite with acrylic. You can lay down darks and then slowly lay the lights on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing, what is that? That's your kind of pinkies there, Paul?
Yes, it's kind of like an orangish red color, and then I'm just really thinning it down with a lot of water to make it lighter.
And you're starting on the back, on the feathers.
Yes. I do that because I'm right-handed, so I know I can rest my hand over here. So if you're left-handed, you might want to start on the other side. And the key really is minimal brush strokes. So I try to like move the brush in the direction of the feathers so that I can kind of like make one big feather with each stroke, or one section with each stroke, and then not go back and scrub at it or overwork it. Just let the brush create the image.
Got it.
You can do something similar with acrylic too. I tend to push my brush in the direction of whatever I'm painting. So fur, feathers, or skin, it all has a directionality to it. Something to think about while you're painting.
Now, if your wet brush does hit the black paint around the flamingo too, in a heavy way, it can still activate that black and make it mix with your pink. So just be careful around the edges. If you get a little bit of black mixed in, you can maybe dab it up with a paper towel or a clean brush quickly, or
That would be flamingo in the fog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just embrace it.
Exactly.
That's why I say flamingo in the fog.
Yeah, there you go.
Even more creative. I love it. It is kind of a nice way when you're painting something that has a lot of interesting shapes like this. It does make, when you paint it with watercolor, it does make you really stop and like look at the direction of each thing.
It does. It sure does. This is feeling good. I haven't done this in so long. This is very fun.
I'm feeling the same way. We must need to do more watercolors.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I'm just delighted to do this morning.
Yeah.
Or paint more flamingos.
That could be too, yes.
Just only flamingos. They do make interesting shapes.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very pleasing, the curve of the neck, and
yes,
it makes a really nice composition.
Yeah. I like to kind of start my brush at the tip of the feather so you get that little point and then pull it back. And I am using a very round, very pointy watercolor brush. Watercolor brushes are a little softer than oil and acrylic brushes.
Yeah.
Although depending on the look you're going for, you can use almost any brush for whatever you're painting, no matter the...
Yes, that is true. I tend to like softer brushes actually for my oil paintings too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. If you're going for more of a smooth finish, then you probably want a softer brush. But definitely for watercolor, you want a soft brush.
Yeah, if your brush is too hard on a watercolor, it'll just be real scratchy and annoying. Although I suppose you could maybe do something interesting with that too, but I don't know.
You probably could. You just have to be careful of it not eating through the paper.
Yeah. So I'm sort of just doing it all with this one color for now, but then I know there are a lot of other colors going on in the flamingo, so I'll just be building that up with layers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've got most of my shadows established here, just going back over some of these colors to make it a little bit more opaque. Acrylic tends to go on a little bit transparent the first coat. Sometimes can take a couple coats to get the color you want. Sometimes that's what makes an acrylic painting really interesting, is you can layer lots of colors, and it does show through as you layer more colors, and that actually creates a really interesting effect.
Yeah. Yeah, same with watercolor too. I think the layering is an important part of it because it is so transparent. You do see all the layers through each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. I've got my dark slate in there. I'm going to go in with a slightly lighter pinkish red color here. And I can layer that on top of what I've already painted, or I can paint that into some of the highlight areas. Kind of blend it between the two.
Now. Okay, let's see.
I'm trying to pay a little bit of attention to the values where I see darker and lighter tones. Obviously, I'm painting everything kind of light right now, but I'm still got a little variation in the values I'm using. So I am trying to think about that while I'm painting and put the darker areas where I see them in the photo.
This is so fun.
Yes, it is.
I'm glad you like it, Jackie.
I love it. How long is our class?
2 hours. So
2
we've
hours.
got about an
Yeah.
hour
About an
and
hour
10
left.
minutes to go.
Oh, have we been at it an hour?
I know it goes by really fast,
It
doesn't it?
does.
Was.
The other nice thing about this subject matter, working with the flamingo, is the color is so pretty. Lots of brights that
Yes.
you can mix
Yeah.
in, versus the shadow areas that get a little bit more neutral. So it's a nice exercise in playing with color and how to
Mhm.
get all the neutrals and the brights to work together.
Yeah, you look at it and it just kind of looks like it's all, just pink and black. But then when you really start looking, there's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Something interesting about laying in bright color over a shadow area is you can give it a bit of a glow, and it actually looks a lot more interesting, a lot more three-dimensional. And in the highlight areas too, you can lay some of that brighter color in there, and it will actually make your highlights pop out a lot more. It will give you a brighter light source, or feeling a brighter light source. So definitely something to play with. As I'm playing with this bright red color, I'm just kind of making an indication of where some of those feathers are based on where the dark areas are versus the light. And that'll just give me an idea of where I want to put some of my lighter colors once I get to that. And again, just using my brush strokes to make the shapes of the feathers, not worrying about painting every detail right now, which I would normally be pretty worried
I was gonna
about.
say,
But I can work up to
yes.
that.
Yes, you can.
So kind of just give me a map to work on. It's best to get the forms established before you try to do too many details. It will help
Mhm.
your whatever you're painting to feel more three-dimensional.
Yes.
I think sometimes if you focus on getting all the details in the beginning, your figure or whatever you're painting can flatten out pretty quickly. So if you
That's
focus on
definitely
getting the
true with
boundaries
watercolor
right.
too.
Yes, that's true.
You want to think about the big picture first.
Mm-hmm. And make sure everything's in the right place before you go adding a lot of detail or
Yes.
a lot of the smaller
I'm
elements.
misshapen. I thickened out his. I bless his little heart. I thickened out his neck. Right there it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You got it?
Well, it's just thick.
Well,
Just
you
like,
could always go back with black and thin it out somewhere if you need to.
mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. Well, that's true. You know what? I'm gonna boldly step out and do that right now. Let's
Just
see
make
how.
sure the pink is dry so the black doesn't like bleed into it, but that can definitely work.
Let's see. Um,
Got a lot of my darker areas worked in here. I'm going to go to more of my medium tones. So I have this like orangey pink color that's going to be a lot of fun to start laying in here, creating some of my highlight areas.
okay, now let's see.
It's looking gorgeous, Melissa.
Thank you. You too, Polly.
Okay, let's see. Let's see what we're
The
gonna.
nice thing about acrylic that you can't really do with watercolor is you can just start adding on top and just start layering things.
Right. I missed
Mhm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's all right. We're just gonna do what we're doing here.
Yes.
You got to kind of just embrace what happens with watercolor, I think.
You do.
And
That's a-
as you do it more, you'll get to the point where you know what it's going to do and you can manipulate it and um, kind of understand how it's going to work.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see.
One of the things I try to think about with watercolor is where how the edges of the brush strokes are looking. So if you end up with a real like sharp, edge inside of an area where you don't want it, it can be hard to get rid of that. So while it's still wet, if you can kind of just spread it out a little bit or let it bleed into another color so that it won't dry with a hard edge somewhere where you don't want it. That's something I think about a lot with watercolor because you can't just go back and cover it up as easily like with acrylic.
Right.
This little guy's fun.
Yeah.
He's adorable. Love him.
Can still get, even though watercolor is a very loose, flowy medium, you can still get very detailed and precise with it if you want to. Like I'm just using a very tiny brush right now and going in to lay in some of these little lines and details around the eye. As long as it's dry where you're working, you can be very precise. So, I mean, there's scientific illustrators that do their work in watercolor, but very technical, detailed pieces. So just because it is more organic doesn't mean you can't still be detailed with it too.
Yeah, actually, it's a really nice thing with watercolors. You can get very elegant lines.
Yeah.
Because it flows so nicely.
It's kind of relaxing.
Yeah, I think that's why what a lot of people like in watercolor is there's something very relaxing about it.
Yeah. Oil painting is fun, but I would not call it relaxing. I'm usually like on edge.
I think oil can be a little bit more, well, I guess they both can be very expressive depending on how you paint.
Yeah.
I think oil paint is meant to be layered, where watercolor a little bit less so.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. He's dry. Okay, this goes there. Okay, let's see. Okay. Now. Let's see now.
And now making sure this is all dry around here, and then I'm going to go in and do that little dark part on the beak now. As long as what's around it is dry, you can still get a nice clean edge.
I'm just working in this medium pink color, just on, most of the areas that I left open, just to kind of block in some color. And that just means to like lay in a large area of color so I can work back on top of it later. And it just kind of gives me something, just establishes a value and a color direction so I can lay other things on top of it, which I think will create more of a three-dimensional look as I go back into it. Just gives me something to work on later instead of working on the white.
Let's see.
I have the first layer on everything. So now I get to go back and start adding more into the feathers, which is going to be super fun.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Even as I'm blocking in this bright pink color, I'm paying attention to the direction of the feathers and using my brush strokes to help establish some of those shapes, and that's just less work I'll have to do later. Just kind of
Such a
helps establish the
planner.
form. I am. I can't help myself.
Okay, let's see. Just don't feel like I'm getting that tiny line that I need.
For the neck?
No, around the eye. My brush is
Oh,
almost too.
try a smaller
Yeah.
brush, Jackie.
Yeah, if you have a real small detail brush for that.
One that comes to a really nice point. Maybe a newer brush might be more helpful
Mhm.
if you have one.
Is it cheating when you use a pen?
No, not at
Not
all.
cheating.
Well, that's a good thing.
You can use anything you want. That's the beauty of
Yeah.
art. You might also like to try watercolor pencils.
No, I do. You know,
Yeah.
you turned me onto that too.
Oh, did I? Oh, good.
Could be influence you have, Paul, and you don't even know it.
Yes,
I know these art supply companies need to start sending me like royalty checks.
they do.
Sponsorship time. Yep.
That is the truth.
Those are great for getting like details, and you can dip like your watercolor brush in water and just draw with it, and it'll look like paint.
Yeah.
You had your little watercolor pen there too, Jackie. If you would want to try that, that could be an option.
You know,
Mhm.
I'm sort of afraid right at the moment.
I would test that on another area or on another paper even first, because I know when I first started using it, I was squeezing too hard, and so everything was just super watery. So you kind of have to get a feel for that one before you take it into your piece, I would suggest.
That's actually a good tip for watercolor in general. If you're testing a color to see how it's going to look, because sometimes it's hard to tell when you have so much water mixed into
Yes.
whatever color you're creating. You just don't know how it's going to look on the paper. So you can have a little test paper next to your painting and try out the color first and see what it looks like when it dries, because watercolor will be lighter when it dries, which is the opposite of acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
And then darker. How do you? So to get a little more darkness in the acrylic, would I use some black? Are you using black to get some of those darker shadows, Melissa?
Yeah, I do. I do have some black. I use some burnt sienna. I use some burnt umber just because those are a little bit more on the warm side as far as neutral browns go. I mix those. I have a little bit of my red mixed in with some of those. I definitely used a lot of black in the background and on the beak. You could use a little bit of blue, that could help too.
Anything dark, really, that has the right feel, and maybe even combine a few.
You could use a purple. Purple would be nice.
I'm using a lot of purple in my shadows, but mixing it with browns and reds, so it's not too purple, but That's a good shadow color for this one because it has red in it.
Mm-hmm. If you don't have a purple, mixing some blue in with your red is kind of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a bit of a smaller brush this time, one that comes to a point so I can get some of these feather shapes in here. Now that I have some of my values established, I can start working on my details, which is my favorite part.
Oh, you're happy now.
It takes so long to get to this point. I get so sad, and now I'm happy.
I'm the same way though when it comes to my favorite part of a painting is after everything is already like kind of basically on there, and then you get to go back and really start figuring it out.
Yeah, it really comes to life.
Yeah. Up until that point, I just kind of think of it as you're just, getting color on the canvas. You're just covering the white. It's not really,
Yeah.
you don't need
It's
to
like a
stress
coloring
too
book.
much. Yeah. Yeah.
Your own paint by number.
I've been going simpler and simpler with my underpaintings on like acrylic and oil paintings recently because I'm finding I kind of like just having big areas that are just sort of initially painted with one color, and then I have more room to go in on the next layer and be a little bit more expressive. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing much simpler underpaintings lately.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to keep in mind with any painting that you're working on is it's probably not going to look great right away.
Yes.
Painting really is all about building it up to the point where you're happy with it. And I think a lot of beginning artists expect like, oh gosh, this isn't looking like it should. I'm an hour into
Mhm.
this. It doesn't look like anything. That's okay. Just keep going.
Yes.
You're not going to get there right away. Even
It starts
professional
to,
artists, like we're not there right away. It takes a long time to get it to a place where we're
yeah.
happy with it.
I think it is easy for someone who's just starting out to get discouraged very early on in the process, though, because they haven't like done enough paintings to have that sense of confidence that it will work out eventually.
Right.
Um, Usually, it's just a matter of you just have to keep, adding stuff till until it's good.
Yep, just keep going. That's all you
Yeah,
can do.
most of the problems I see in art is just because the person quit too soon.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Paul and I like to say you can always fix it.
Yes. It is really fun to start layering more colors on top because boy, it just comes to life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm not sure my little guy is going to come to life. He might.
Oh, we have to have faith, Jackie.
Hang in
You
there,
can
Jackie.
do
You
it.
can do it.
You can do it. If a piece gets to the point where it feels like it's not salvageable, that's when I usually just switch mediums altogether and go into it with like something totally different, oil pastels, or just something totally random and different to see if that maybe will help pull it out of its funk. Because at that point,
Yeah.
if you already feel like it's been ruined, then you have nothing to lose. And sometimes I've gotten some really cool results that way.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's helpful too to just stop and come back to it later. Sometimes you can see it more clearly if you kind of give yourself a break.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's one
professional
advantage I
artists
would
do that
say
all the
to
time.
be doing multiple paintings at once, like what Jackie's doing.
Mhm.
It's an interesting thing. I never have done this before.
How's it working?
It's interesting. I got two
Yeah,
entirely different things.
that's cool. I usually have several paintings going at once, but I don't like jump back and forth, frequently. I'll usually like spend several hours on one and then several hours on the other. So that's gotta be different.
It's fun. You got
Yeah.
time, and I paint. This is when I paint with these classes. That's what I love about them, is that I paint, because the rest
Yeah.
Mhm.
do other stuff.
Hmm.
Yep,
Yeah, it's just
definitely.
like dedicated time for yourself to
Yeah.
do that.
Mhm. Yeah, which is always nice. It's hard to make room sometimes for other
Yeah.
things, and that's what's nice about these classes, I think, is
It
you
is.
Yeah.
can make time. For Paul and I too, I think it's a good thing to just sit and paint, you know.
Yeah. I have
Usually you're so
noticed that
focused
over
on
the oh go ahead.
usually you're so focused on getting something done for, to make money or for your job or, you know,
Yeah.
all that stuff that you have to do, all the obligatory stuff.
All the adulting things.
Right.
Paul, do you have other work besides painting?
Teaching. I do a lot of teaching through Art Makes Us, and I teach art in some schools here in the area through the our local arts council pays for that because there a lot of schools don't have art, so they hire just professional artists in the community to go in and do art classes for kids. So, but everything I do is art
Well, that's
related in one way or another.
that actually was my reference. It is, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, yes. Thank goodness, because I'm not good at anything else.
Oh, Paul.
I did just get hired to make a commercial for a local commercial, so that's going to be interesting.
That's hilarious.
I usually don't, I'm not going to be in it. I'm just like, filming and editing it. So that's going to be
Really?
a fun new challenge. It's like a
You have
public
actors,
service.
Paul?
No. It's a public service kind of video to encourage people to get vaccinated and
Oh, wow.
they're specifically targeting like people who are like field workers and people in that community because there's been a lot of mistrust of the system and people not wanting to get vaccinated. So we're gonna just go and like interview some of them and film them getting vaccinated and try to help raise some awareness.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Hopefully there aren't any anti-vaxxers watching this video. If you are, go get your vaccine.
Yeah. Well, at my age, I felt very strongly about doing that.
Yeah. Hey, at my age, I was there the second I could do it.
Yeah, me too. I'm immunocompromised, so I was there right away.
Yeah.
It's really important. For you and for the people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to fly for the first time in April. I have not flown since all this began.
Oh, really? Yeah, me neither, Jackie. I'm with you on that one.
Little trepidation, but I'll tell you what. Remember when SARS came out 23 years ago? I started wearing a mask on an airplane then, and I've never flown once without a mask since then.
Oh, really? Wow.
On planes.
That's smart.
Look at you. You are such a trailblazer.
I'm ready to go. I am. It's no issue for me at all. And my darling grandkids, who I take traveling, I force them to wear them.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
good.
it's hard to breathe, but you're about the time they'd complain, or I'd even feel a little comfortable. Somebody would go, "Ah, chew!"
Yes,
Just pinch
exactly.
that little tighter. Just pinch your mask.
Yep. Yeah, we flew recently, and there was we wore ours, but there were so many people who weren't, and I'm just like,
Oh, no
such an
problem.
easy thing to do. Like, just put it on.
Yeah,
It became so political, which I think is so stupid.
yeah, that's the sad
Yeah,
part.
it's a shame.
It is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Let's see now. Let's get you. Let's see. Come here.
I like these big round brushes that come to a fine tip like this because you can do like tiny little details, and then you can also just kind of squish it down and let it go right into a bigger area. It's kind of nice
Hmm.
for when you want those big, elegant kind of shapes, but you want there to be a few little pointy tips or feathery type of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, the nice thing about those big round brushes is you can get a thicker line or a thinner line based on how much pressure and how you turn the brush and
Yes.
how you use it. So those come in handy for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I'm noticing as I'm painting the highlights on the flamingo is just how warm the highlights are. So I mixed up a pink with white and red, and it doesn't feel warm enough. So I actually had to add some yellow to get that nice glow in some of the highlight areas. So that's just something to
Hmm.
pay attention to as you're adding some of your highlights.
Yeah, in
Mostly
acrylic,
yellow in there.
when you lighten it with white, it can make it a little bit cooler, a little like kind of chalkier.
Hmm.
So yellow is helpful.
Yeah, especially depending on what red you're using. Some are a little bit warmer, some are a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's see. Okay,
We have a little bit of reflected light here on the neck, on the left side of it, where you can see how it just gets a little bit lighter and a little bit redder here, even though it's in the shadow. So I'm trying to bring that out. It's light that's wrapping around the other side of the neck, and so you get that little sliver right there.
now that's not the right brush to do that with.
It's good to figure that out.
Yep.
Brushes, my paint,
Have to have all the right stuff.
in the right place.
Yes. It's a lot to ask.
Hmm.
Is.
Look at all your bright colors, Melissa.
I know. Look at me, Paul.
Melissa is usually a more neutral girl, so this is a good challenge for you.
I am. I do use a lot of bright colors in my artwork, I will say. I do like color for sure, or just like using it intentionally. But I wear only black and white clothing, so everybody makes fun of me if I venture out and use color.
Yes.
Like, whoa there, what are you doing?
Melissa's getting crazy.
That's not for you. You don't do that.
That's what people say to me when they see me wearing black and white.
I know, like, wait a minute, Paul. Are you depressed?
Paul, are you okay? What's depressed?
Do you ever don't, do you?
Do I ever what?
We're black and white.
Not much.
Yeah, if you did, you would mix in something bright, like a gold metallic or something.
I do have that look, yes.
Oh yeah, that counts.
People always joke with me at work that if I would show up in color, they would think something was wrong. Let's see, how are we doing on time? We got half an hour left. Time to keep working on details.
Goes by too fast.
Yep. I'm excited to get in there and add some details to the beak and the eye, and always seems to come to life when you do that.
I'm very detailed in my little one and not detailed in my big one.
That makes sense, Jackie.
Yeah.
It's just been interesting and it just sort of has been creating itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing, right?
Actually, it is.
Yeah. Kind of let it be what it wants to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going through here. I'm just making sure I'm adding some of my lighter tones. Again, just kind of sculpting those feathers, working in the direction that the feathers are going. Adding some cooler tones in some areas and some warmer tones in other areas. Adding to those highlights.
On my first pass through, you saw where I just kind of used one color, but now that I'm on my detail stage, I'm just kind of grabbing different colors, different combinations of colors every time. I go to the palette and sometimes I'll just grab a little of one and put it in the middle and then another. So it becomes a little messy in there, but that's okay. I kind of like it like that.
All right, that's better, buddy.
Actually, the nice thing about painting feathers is brush strokes actually look like feathers, so you can use
Yeah.
that to your advantage.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty easy to make marks that feel right in this kind of subject.
Yeah, use the shape of your brush to help you. And I think one of these rounded pointing brushes, as long as you have a nice point on it, I think it'll create feather shapes for you that almost don't need a lot of more work.
Yeah, I like that.
Paul likes that. As long as you're following what you see, you'll get something that does look like feathers.
Okay, now let's try this again.
Layering different colors in there will help you from darker to lighter or lighter to darker, depending on what medium you're working with.
Smaller brush. Mm.
Got such a cute little expression.
Flamingos do have a lot of personality in their faces. It's funny.
They really do.
Mm-hmm.
This one looks like it's being kind of coy.
Yeah. Like it knows the secret and it's not going to tell you.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I want.
It's interesting how painting in a different medium than what I normally paint in, I find myself kind of like noticing different things in the image and picking up on different details that I would, be approaching it totally differently if I was painting it in oil. So it's kind of it's a good challenge to switch your medium like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good experiment.
Yep. And to be pretty bold and with oil and so I'm going for like the big dramatic things first, and with watercolor it's really more about the subtle things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Is it?
But you don't want to overwork the paper. So easy to do. You just want to do a little bit at a time. I'm saying that to remind myself too.
Yes, for sure. It is a challenging thing to do, especially if you're new to watercolor.
Yeah, your temptation is going to be to just want to like scrub it to death.
Yep. Or not wait for
Yeah.
things to dry, to just go back in there right away.
Yep.
You do
I
have to
just
have
stopped. And I stopped prematurely because he doesn't have any, well, he has some shadows, but not many. I'll show you.
Okay.
Have
Let's see. Here, let me add you to the spotlight. Oh, that's beautiful, Jackie.
Thank you. But see,
Yeah, that looks great.
he doesn't have shadows because I'm sort of afraid.
Oh, so you got to go in and do it now.
You can't ever
Wait.
tell Paul that you're afraid to do something because
You
you're
know,
gonna have
that
to
make-
do it.
It's so
That makes me
easy
want to
for-
like force it.
It's so easy for them to look, worked over.
Yes, but
Mhm.
if you can still add them using the same light touch that you use for everything else though, and because there's already color on there, it'll go, a notch darker than that. So you can just slowly build up the shadows. You don't have to jump to like from one extreme to another. You can do
So-
several layers.
Here's a little question that I'm going to ask you.
hmm
Have you ever thought about using Padlet?
Yes, we are using that. I'm using that now for the class I teach on Thursdays. It's like a group class where everybody's working on different things, and so they all post their work to Padlet. That might be good for these classes too, even.
Well,
Huh?
I was thinking that. Especially, I mean, I still see me today, but it is helpful to see what others are doing. Just to see,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll have to tell you, I learned so much just watching,
Yeah.
Roses, just seeing what she paints.
Oh, I know. She's amazing.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
I that's not me, but I want to have something in that realm, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I am always the most fascinated and drawn to artists who are really different from me and from what I do. I think that there's
Right.
just something about that it opens your mind up more when you do watch somebody else like that. Even if you're not ever going to try and do something that's exactly like what they're doing, it still it expands your view to see how other people look at the world. So I think it's wonderful. And I like Padlet too, because then you also have this running record of everybody's work. You could go back and see how it started, or
And I
what
do
they were working.
that. I go back for our classes. I do that.
Yeah, I have access to your class too, so I go on there and look all the time. I love seeing it. You
Well,
guys do some great stuff in there.
I encourage you to do that with like all of the classes.
Yeah, okay, I will. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Have you ever used Padlet, Melissa?
No, I've never even heard of it.
It's just an app that lets you like have a running kind of board with everybody can post pictures to it. So like I'm using it in the
okay.
Thursday class so people can easily like upload what they're working on to show me and stuff. It's
Gotcha.
nice.
That makes sense.
And we typically finish our classes with everybody posts we can't always because technology, but we
Yeah.
post and we look at each other's stuff and we get to see it's what's so interesting is that we've all done, as you know, the same thing, but
Right. But
Mhm.
yeah, so differently. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Jackie.
Plus it gives us pictures that we can pull from to share work from the class on
does.
social media and stuff.
and you've posted a couple of mine and I thank you. I was very, very honored for that.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, of course.
Well, thank you for sending us stuff. We always look forward to seeing what people are working on.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
exciting for us.
Jackie's a great ambassador for Art Makes Us. She always posts every week,
Yes.
like what she did in
I
Deb's
do.
class, and yeah, I
And
love
I
that.
say where that's from because I want other people to do it. And Lynn did come.
Yeah, yeah,
And I can't wait for him to ask.
yeah. You had a new person that started this week too, I think.
Alan.
Like, yes, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he is, and he's good. When I say good, I mean, he does the stuff and he shares it and it's his own style and it's great to see. And
Yeah, definitely.
boy,
That can be an intimidating thing for people to share their art if they're not, totally comfortable with that, or,
and the nice thing about you all is we don't have to if we don't want to.
yeah,
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
that's true too. If you want to just come and experiment and not have to worry about the results, that's fine too.
Link into the background. I've done that more than one time.
Mhm.
I can't imagine you ever blending into the background, Jackie.
I know, right? What kind of background are you standing against?
That's true. And now that I carry this dog everywhere, I mean, I really do.
Oh,
Now,
yes, I love it.
Yeah, they used to say, Jackie, good to see you. And now, oh, look, it's Baby Yoda.
Oh.
It's true.
That's hilarious.
Uh-oh, you got upstaged.
Yeah, now what, Jackie? Uh-oh.
Absolutely did. And I'm delighted.
You can never win it. Like if you're competing with a cute animal, they're just always
Yeah.
gonna be.
You're always second best. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yep.
That's just fine. It really is. This little dog brings a smile to everybody's face, and I love that
Oh,
because that's what faces need.
Yes.
yes.
Dogs are
Seriously.
amazing for that. That's for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. A little shadow.
You're going for it.
A little shadow.
Good
All right,
job.
Jackie.
Good job. It'll be worth it.
If the teacher says do it, you do it,
Especially Paul, because he will not let you rest until you do it.
You sound like you're speaking from experience, Melissa.
Just a little bit. You better do what he says.
I can be a bit persuasive sometimes.
Yes.
And we know you do it in love.
Yep. That's all it is.
The difference.
Yep.
I have one little student. He's like, I don't know, 11 or 12. He came to my house yesterday and he said that my nickname should be the Persuader.
That is extremely insightful. He already knows you so well.
Oh, yes.
Okay, glad I'm doing this.
Yay, Jackie.
Yay!
Okay, add a little something.
Little something, something.
Okay, I'm stopping now.
That's what you need
you
to
know-
do with watercolor. You got to know when to stop too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just know it is time to stop.
Yep.
That's a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And this will go onto our Padlet because she asks
good.
us everything we did in between.
Oh, good.
And so we share.
That's cool.
Is this for your drawing class with Deb, Jackie?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I just love Deb.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's so amazing. Such a
Mhm.
sweet person.
right. And there's a decent color in the watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Working on this beak now. There are a lot of different colors in the beak that aren't necessarily in the rest of the body. So there's some cooler tones there. So I'm going to add some blue.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to tear off my tape.
Oh, that's
Oh,
the
that's
best
the
part.
best part.
Do it gently though, because you don't want it to rip up any of the paper.
Well, this is a little postcard block.
Okay.
That's painter's tape. Let's see. How fun. Got a little enthusiastic when I was taping it down.
Very thorough.
Uh-huh. Melded to the paper.
Yep.
All I have is wide tape and a narrow postcard. So
Yeah.
Gotcha. Just slow and steady.
yeah,
Yep.
it's not my style at all.
Me either. I feel you.
Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, he's a little sweetheart. Let's see. Let's
Jackie, that's pretty amazing that you were able to did you get both paintings done already?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
When you get the tape off and everything, we want to see them.
I will.
Definitely. I'm working on the face now, and I'm kind of using the same approach I did with the rest of the painting, where I'm putting those shadows in first, and then I'll go in with some of the lighter colors. But those shadows definitely help.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give the eyes some definition. Like there's a lot of shadows around the eyelid. Help add to the expression of the bird.
Yeah. That's what I would say is probably the focal point area for this one. You tend to just want to look at the face when it's a painting of an animal or a person.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So if you have to choose one spot to concentrate your detail, that would be a good one.
Yep, definitely. Choose a focal point. That will always help.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you have the most detail, that's where people are going to look. So you can kind of let people know where you want them to look at a painting by.
I taped crooked.
Oh no, Jackie.
Well, there's no perfection in life.
No.
Right, there you go.
The magic words that every artist needs to know are I meant to do it that way.
Right.
Oh, good. You noticed. That's what I wanted you to see.
Exactly. Yep.
Jackie knows how to play this game.
I know how to play the game. I was in government for a long time. I can play the game.
Oh, they're really good at that game there.
Yes, the best.
Figure out a way to get around it inside.
Yeah.
Mhm. And
Wow.
we did.
Okay. Where is this one? I'm gonna find my small brush here. Here's one.
I don't want to stop. I could just keep working on this all day.
It's definitely one where you could get very detailed if you wanted to.
Yeah. The more you look, the more you
Mhm.
see.
Yep.
Much detail.
A couple minutes left. Try and get this eye finished.
Okay. Mhm.
Did you get the tape off of both of them?
I only had the tape on the watercolor.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. And it's
You
a
just let me
post.
know when you're ready to show us.
They're on Padlet.
Oh, okay. Let me
Okay,
see if I can.
Wow, Jackie, you
Yeah.
are fast.
I know.
I paint fast. I like to paint fast. And I'll tell you when when we're doing the contour drawing, you're supposed to go slow.
Yes.
Can't do it.
You're like
love it.
Paul.
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
Can't slow you down.
Let's see. Where is Deb's class in there? Oh, I might need you to send me the link to Deb's Padlet. I don't know if I don't. I guess I don't have it saved now.
oh, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I have a
Hmm.
Padlet. I have it myself, and then so
Okay.
I tune into most recent, which is Draw for the Joy of It.
Let me
And
see if I can find that one. If it's public, I might be able to find it.
if you have do you have the Padlet app?
Oh yeah, I have it up because I have one for our class, but I just don't have Deb's board saved, apparently.
Drawing for the Joy of It. You don't have Drawing for the Joy of It on your.
No, I just have my class. So yeah, I guess Padlet's not going to work for today. Do you want to just hold them up? I can
Sure.
spotlight you.
Okay. Here's my little
Let's
postcard.
see. Here. Oh, the shadows made it.
Oh, yeah,
Good
looks great.
job.
Yeah, they did. That's
Very
my
nice.
watercolor, and then here's my acrylic.
Oh, that turned
wow.
out really nice too.
Yeah, beautiful.
And also not much detail. That's a little bit of. I was thinking of Van Gogh and gesture drawing.
I like your
Uh-huh.
expressive. I was going to say, I really like your expressive brushstrokes. They're beautiful.
Thank
Mhm.
you. So I don't have the detail, but
Yeah,
But there's
but you don't need it because
Why?
you got the essence.
Right.
very fun, and how fun to do them both. I mean, I
Yeah, I love that.
it helped to have a small one. That was helpful.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of a cool idea. We might have to do a class like that sometime, like do two
Yeah.
paintings of the same thing in two different mediums at once.
What?
That
You-
would be quite the challenge.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's what you did today, and I would say this: if you took and this is really a kind of a straightforward, maybe something even more straightforward, maybe a still life with just an apple and a,
Mhm.
you know, something fairly
Yes.
straightforward.
Something
And then,
simple.
you know, and you told people in advance that that was an
Mhm.
opportunity or an option, so they'd be
Yeah.
ready with their stuff, and to if they were interested in trying that out. I mean, it's actually always an option, but
Yeah.
if you
True.
want to do it, you know, intentionally,
Yeah. It's
Yep.
not something that I think a lot of people would think of on their own. So it's kind of a cool
Right.
idea.
and then when you're just there on the spot, you might not be able
Mhm.
to do that. Today, I just decided, and part of it was because it was a paintable item.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes a difference.
hmm
And those are beautiful, you two. Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm just
Jackie.
about done, which I guess is good because we're about out of time.
Yep.
I'm gonna do a little more black in my background.
Mhm.
I can see where I can add a little shadow here and there, but once I'm done, I'm kind of done.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
me
You
too.
got to kind of step away from it.
Yeah.
There's always more you could do. I mean, I feel that way about all
Yep.
of my work, but at a certain point, you just have to stop.
Gotta let go eventually, right?
Yeah.
On to the next one.
Yep.
Yep.
I love this doing this on Saturday. Thank you. And thank you both for, you know, going ahead.
Yeah.
Of course, Jackie.
Absolutely.
Thanks for always being here and being so engaged with what we're doing and just being so fun to work with. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that's why we do it, is we love
Yep.
getting to work with you and people like you.
Yeah. And, you know, this is really, I think I mentioned before, I don't do videos well. I don't, you know, you
Yeah.
ask questions, and like I learned how to
Yes.
use my watercolor pens today. I'm going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that work on a canvas board, that watercolor pen?
You could try it. Watercolor in general on canvas isn't always the best. It usually does better on watercolor
Because
paper.
it doesn't absorb, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
It might just sit on top.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could try it though. I mean, you might just have to let it dry for a long time, but
Mhm.
definitely give it a shot.
I would say maybe if you painted like with less water and did it a little bit more, almost like it was acrylic.
Of course, the
Might
thing
work.
is, Paul, well, I was going to say you really can't control the water in the pen. You could put just a little bit in.
Yeah. Well, and also it's how much pressure you use when you squeeze it, because you can get a lot of water that comes out, or you can just get like a little bit. So
Oh, thank you.
I would do some practices on scrap paper and just kind of try out different,
Right.
you know, techniques before you do a piece, because it did take me. I tried to paint one. I just like grabbed it and started painting with it on a sunrise one morning when we were on the cruise.
Yeah.
And my first sunrise was very abstract because of that. It still ended up looking kind of interesting, but it was though it was just so wet because so much water came out of that brush. I didn't know what I was doing yet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying that. That's good. I love
It makes it so you can do watercolors very easily on the go, especially if you take watercolor pencils, because then you just can, you know, draw with those and then use the brush to wet it. Or if you just have like a little travel size watercolor.
Yes.
set,
That's the plan on the trip.
Yes. Oh, good. Where are you going?
New York.
Oh,
Fine.
Oh, that's
nice.
fun.
I've taken my grandchildren. There's two of them, each different times because they're 6 years apart.
Uh-huh.
Have nothing in common really when you travel. Although they're old enough now to do that, but I haven't since 2019. So, and I haven't
Yeah.
taken my granddaughter since maybe 12. So I'm going to meet her and her partner in New York for a week over Easter, actually 5 days over Easter. I'm so excited. Isn't
Oh, how fun.
that great?
No, it will be so much fun. And that's a great place to do some watercolor paintings on the go.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I do that rapid drawing that we do in class. Gesture.
Yes. Yes,
Yep.
I did that too on our recent vacation, like just drawing random people on the cruise. It was really
Yes.
fun.
Continuous line, fast, fast, fast.
Yes, those exercises are so great because they make it so that once you get out and you're trying to do a quick drawing, you're ready. You
Right.
have
You're on
experience.
top of it.
Right.
Yep. All right. I think I am at the tape removal stage too. That's
All right.
exciting.
I think I could be too.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
I think so. I think I need to, be okay with it.
The
It'll be
red
good.
letter
Oh, I love
A.
that. Yes, your painting looks beautiful.
Does.
Oh, thank you.
All right, let's remove that tape.
All
Right.
right. Give me 1 minute. Just gonna work on this eye for 1 second. Ready. Okay.
There is something really satisfying about that little white,
Yeah.
clean border.
Even watching,
Mhm.
even when it's
Yeah, it's fun.
is that a block, Paul?
No, this is just an individual paper that I taped down to a wood board.
Okay.
One thing about removing tape is if you pull kind of away from your paint edge,
Yeah.
it'll
Mhm.
help.
Yeah. It's also good if you get it straight.
That helps, yes. Nice.
Those are gorgeous.
Well, thank you,
We
Jackie.
did it. That
Yeah.
was very
Get some
fun.
of
I
my
enjoyed that.
Totally.
lines out of here, and then we're good.
Totally.
We can call this done.
They're great.
Yay. We did it.
Good. Can I get a shot of the two of your faces on the screen? Because I do a lot of
Sure.
Facebooking.
Yes,
Sure,
we
Jackie.
would love that.
Those are
Mhm.
Let me
Yeah.
switch my camera. Hold on, it's like I need a minute. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Give me big smiles. And I got the flamingo.
Yay!
One more, just to be sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're so
Aw.
welcome, Jackie. It was really fun. Had a great time hanging out with you today.
I'll see you
Mhm.
both next month, huh?
Oh,
Sounds
yes,
great,
we'll be
Jackie.
here.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.